Hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. It's your girl, Kamie Crawford. And today, I have one of my homegirls in the stew. Lauren Chan. She is an SI swimsuit model, a TV personality, and entrepreneur, CEO of the brand Henning, which was acquired by Universal Standard, which is fucking insane. We have to talk about it all, but Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. When you said it's your girl, I was like, and your other girl.
Yeah. Both girls.
Both girls.
The girls. We're here for the girls. And you're literally here for the girls, which we're going to also talk about.
I'm scared of what you're going to ask me.
Why?
I'm excited. I don't know, because first of all, you're my real life friend.
Yes.
And these are the situations where like I say something and then I forget that we're at work.
Yeah,
in a
they were
way.
recording.
But
that
it'll be good. It'll be good content.
Yeah, it's all being used
listeners.
against you in the court of law of the internet.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Okay. We have to talk about the fact that we go way, way back. Like, we go all the way back. I literally had to look up in my phone when I started modeling, and it was in 2013, which literally 11 years
same
ago.
Time for me.
Can you like go back and talk about how you got with, because we were both signed. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see you, so I'm just jumbling.
This is what I mean.
We both were signed with Ford Plus, and then went on to Jag Models. Mm-hmm. That's how Lauren and I are connected, how we know each other. I've known you for literally 11 years now. Talk about how you got with Ford Plus in the beginning.
Okay. So I am Canadian and I wanted to be a fashion editor, and I wanted to do that in New York City where all of fashion media was happening.
Yeah.
I tried to get some job interviews, etc., and I couldn't get a work visa because as a Canadian, I had to prove that my job skills were so unique that this company had to outsource the job to foreign talent.
I just feel like that's such bullshit.
Well, please don't get me started on
the American immigration
USCIS, allegedly.
This is all alleged.
And so I thought about that backwards, and I thought that if my job skill is what I looked like, technically it was unique. Technically no one had the exact same skill set. And so I went to a Ford open call. I was obsessed with fashion vlogs at the time. I'm sure you were too. Mm-hmm. And I saw that Ford Plus posted that they were having their first open call in a number of years, whatever it was. And so I rocked up, and also very much like you, I had pictures of me on one side of the folder and my resume on the other.
Yes.
And I went up to Gary.
I'm a serious
Dakin.
model, journalist, person.
Exactly. Right? And I'm sure they're giggling because we were like 20 something.
Yeah.
And we of course knew that we would end up here.
Yes.
In that power.
Right.
But I said, hi, I'm this is who I am and I want to do this, and they signed me on the spot.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Were you terrified? Because I was shaking in my boots.
I can't remember. I remember being nervous. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I was scared of them or the outcome, but there was a lot for me riding on it, right? I had already been told no for my first idea of how to get here. Mm-hmm. So I remember being relieved and excited and like crying happy tears, and and then me and my dad got in his Mazda and drove back to Canada.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
wait,
stopped at Subway on the highway on the way home. Yeah, we like got in the car and just showed up.
How long was that drive?
God bless my father.
No, seriously.
8 or 9 hours. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And so we stayed right across the street. It was on Varick where that open call was. And every time I walk by there or drive by there in Tribeca, I go.
That's insane. That's a way crazier story than mime. I took the
subway
yours? To get there. Literally.
Okay, so you were already living here.
I was already living in New York, and I was in school. I was in college. I was at Fordham. And I had went to, because I was Miss Teen USA before that, which is a whole different world than the world that we had entered. But I was doing like some events. I went to some event at the UN, and I ran into this random woman who was like, "You're so beautiful. Like, are you a model?" And I was like, "Well, I'm a former Miss Teen USA, but like, I don't model." I was like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't really have the body for that. Like, because at the time you had to be a size 0 or less to be considered a model at all. I hadn't really, I think I had seen like the Ashley Grahams of the world, but it wasn't.
It was Crystal's moment still, though. It was still Crystal Wren.
Yes, Crystal Wren. I remember Crystal Wren, and I remember, oh gosh, what was her name? Now I can't remember.
Sophie Dahl?
No. She was on the cover of like Elle Denmark or something at the time. I remember
Inga.
I bought, wait, who is it?
Inga Eriksdotter?
No.
Tara Lynn was already having a big
Tara Lynn.
moment. Yeah.
It was Tara Lynn. Just like not really seeing that kind of representation. And I was not yet a 10. I think I was like a 6, between a 6 and an 8 at the time. And I was just like, there's no like room for me here.
And all the top girls were white.
Exactly. And that. So I was really
the
like,
plus size ideal at the time was very different than it is now.
1000%. I think people forget, like, unless you were working in the industry at that time, you don't really know what it was actually like, because now we're blessed to see so many different kinds of representation overall in the modeling industry. But she asked me if I ever thought about modeling. I was like, sure. Like, I was doing like stuff for 17 magazine at the time. But
that's very significant.
I was not getting paid, girl.
It's to me, but don't you remember being that hungry? I would have done anything for free. I would have gotten a car and drove here, and like that would have been plastered all over my wall. I'm proud of young you for being in 17 magazine. That's iconic.
I appreciate that. I did not know that you could get paid. I was doing it for fun. So it wasn't even like out of like, oh my God, I really want to break into this industry. They were just asking me to model prom dresses, and I was like, sure. Like, I had no idea.
Now. Yeah,
I had no clue.
And you should have been charging extra. You were Miss Teen USA.
You should have had a
winner's premium.
Girl, it wasn't until somebody was literally like, you know, you can get paid for this, right? Like, all the other models are getting paid. I was like, you get paid for this shit? I was just coming here for 6 hours, just, you know, on my off day to have fun and try on pretty dresses and have hair and makeup and be in a magazine and have my mom be like, oh my God, Cameron, that's so cool. Anyway, she then introduced me to somebody at Women's Model Management. At the time, they didn't have a curve division. And I met with him, and he was like, I think you are beautiful, but like, I don't have a place for you here. I want to introduce you to my friends at Ford. And that was when I met Jacqueline.
Got it. So you had the exclusive introduction. I showed up to the cattle call.
But I love we both ended up in the same exact place.
Yes.
Literally the same exact place.
Yes.
And I didn't know that you were writing for Cosmo at the same time.
At the time, I had just had a piece in Italian Vogue on the website. And the open call was actually in partnership with Italian Vogue. And so I specifically wanted to go to meet that editor. His name was Ben. Oh, it escapes me. Ben something. And he was going to be there too. So it was definitely like an alignment for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I already had that interest for sure.
Okay. So, but you were already doing that before the casting call? Mm-hmm. Got it. And so then you go, and how soon after that did you book your first job?
Oh, a long time.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't work. I don't have the body type that was and largely still is the plus size ideal, wherein you're a size 14, but you're hourglass and you're super curvy. You know, I don't have a lot going on in the back. That's okay.
Girl, bye.
But I used to get padded on set in order to kind of fill that out.
Let's talk about padding.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
I won't do it now. But at the time, it was very common. I mean, you would have kind of like a Spanx garment, and then you would put padding in it. And I mean, it can definitely be used in a powerful way. I love drag artists and what they do with padding. Yeah. But for me and for a lot of the people who are models who have had to wear it, it's not the fantasy of drag. You're not controlling your own image. You know, it's, oh, you're not good enough as you are. Mm-hmm. Put this here and then we can book you.
Right.
And then you can represent our brand.
Right.
So it's not common practice anymore. I would be very offended now if a client asked me to do it. Yeah. And it probably stopped being a normalcy 6 years ago, 8 years ago, a while ago.
That's good to know. I hated it. Yeah. I hated it so much. I actually refused to bring it.
Good for you.
Jacqueline and Adam and Gary, who run Jack, they had to like sit me down and be like, clients are calling and saying you're not bringing your padding. And I was like, I'm not going to. Like, I really
that's the other part. Right? We had to own our set of it. And like, bring it in our little bag.
Right. Yeah. Which I hated. I felt like I was like dressing up to be like, I don't know, Santa Claus or one of the elves at like the mall. I hated it so much.
There was one time I used it in real life. Because again, I'm a little lacking in the back. Okay.
Where was it?
I was at one of my best friend's weddings, and we were wearing bridesmaids dresses, and so I didn't pick my own silhouette, whatever. I must have felt that the padding would have helped this dress that I didn't pick look a little better.
Right.
And at some point in the night, I went to the bathroom and I'm just doing my little tinkle. And it's weird. It sounds don't really sound like I'm peeing a lot. And then I stand up and a butt pad has fallen out of my Spanx, landed in the toilet, and I peed on it. And then I was faced with the options, right? Do I pull it out? Do I leave it? Do I take the other pad out? What do I do with it? Do I walk around lopsided?
I'm just imagining you snatching it out the toilet and like...
I don't even know what happened. I blocked the memory out.
Waving it.
This memory,
Flick it off.
to my mental coping mechanisms, has been erased from my memory. But I do know what happened. And that was one of the last times I ever saw my padding.
So did you throw it
sayonara.
out?
I'm sure. I don't remember. I genuinely don't remember what happened.
God. Wow.
I must have.
Can
you imagine trying to put a butt cheek in the garbage without being clocked?
No. And then whoever else has to go in the garbage is like, I wonder what that is. That's weird.
And it smells like pee.
No. It's bad. The padding was bad. And I don't even think that the padding that I got was new. I think it was like used.
Okay, that's wild. I know I bought mine. I know I sought mine out somewhere.
I could not buy it because I couldn't find it. They were just like, I think at the time they were like, well, somebody like we have these pads, and then I just had them for like the next
literal
how many
sponges,
years.
Scammy.
No, it was nasty. It's probably also why I didn't like wearing it because it like didn't have my juices associated with it. It was like somebody else's.
We're too into bodily fluids. This is the problem with us being friends. We gotta pivot back.
It was a bad
Somebody
time.
save us.
It's a bad time. I'm glad that we have moved on from that though. Overall, just in the industry as a whole, because it was just not it. And yeah, girls should be able to feel valued for who they are and what they bring. Anyways, going back to the past in a different way, I met you when I think you were planning your wedding or were already married in 2013.
No. I was planning my wedding in 2017.
Oh, damn. I've known you for a long time, bitch.
I know. It all blends together.
It all blends together.
We were together in 2013. So you might have met him then.
Yeah.
Or like I might have like just come back from a trip because we were long distance for a while between Canada and here. But yeah, it was in that era.
Yeah. So we obviously know now you guys ended up getting divorced. But I want to talk about the journey in discovering your sexuality. Have you always known, or was it something that like a light switch had to go off in your head? Like when did you know that something just wasn't feeling right?
Melanie and I, my dear friend Melanie is here.
Hey, Melanie.
See her on camera, but hey, Melanie. We're at lunch yesterday and we were laughing very hard because I didn't know. And like I was just recounting with her the moments that I told friends and they were like, okay, and? Or like, oh, thank God you found out. Or
wait, everybody knew?
We know. Everybody knew. Nobody could have told me. Like that was very the vibe.
I didn't know. Did Jacqueline know?
I think a lot of people weren't surprised. Whether they knew or not, they like weren't surprised.
Yeah. I think when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Great.
So, and like, listen, I have done a lot of therapy. There was a lot of therapy during that process and a lot since. And I'm trying to understand how that's possible. I know it's crazy to say, but I was like doing things like gluing pictures of Lindsay Lohan to my wall.
Yeah.
And like tracking Samantha Ronson's like DJ tour. And I didn't know why. I think I just really like Herbie Fully Loaded. It's a great film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's watch it again.
And Samantha Ronson.
Yeah. Brilliant producer. Yeah. Really.
Not
I could sing all of the songs now. Actually. What the hell? And it's funny now, and I can see it in hindsight. But, you know, I think that it's a combination of a lot of things. Who I am, who I was raised to be in terms of, like, neural pathways in my brain and how I process emotions to culture. And what we got told was normal and acceptable. And so I was kind of in this state where I just wasn't that in touch with myself. And I wasn't able to clock when I was really into a character, let's say, why that was.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if I bring this a little more up to speed with where I am now in my life, like we work in fashion, right? And I kind of figured that if I saw a beautiful woman on the street or at work or in a fashion spread or a piece of fashion content, that my brain was just naturally kind of trained by way of what I do to appreciate female beauty.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't sitting with myself long enough to know that there was desire in that. And then on the flip side of that, I also wasn't able to recognize the lack of desire in situations with men.
But you know what's crazy? I feel like there are a lot of women who are straight that don't understand that the lack of desire towards men or like the person that they're dating is like not a normal feeling. Like it could just be that this person is not right for you, perhaps, in those situations. But then there's a lot of women that I know that, similarly to you, like, I think the reason why when I saw your news, I wasn't like, is because I literally have another friend who divorced a man and then came out as a lesbian. Well, first she came out as bisexual, and then she was like, actually, JK.
The pipeline is real. Yes. It is swift and it is intense, but it is real.
Yes.
For some people.
Yeah.
You know, I think that I also had a lot of quote unquote evidence in my life that I was normal. Like a lot of my female friends are power women, right? And they all kind of have these partnerships where they're the alpha and they're not that interested in XYZ, or they run ABC. And I was like, okay, yeah, that checks out for me too. Like, yeah, we don't have time to have sex, and I'm more focused on work and blah, 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 blah. And then there's so much in culture that coaches women on how to be desirable. And for me, I realized in hindsight, it was a performance. But I think a lot of women feel that way. Yeah. No matter how they identify in terms of sexual orientation. And so when I was intimate with men, or, you know, in a situation where I was, you know, being courted or courting somebody, it was all a performance. And I was doing what I got taught latently by culture to do. Right. And I thought that was right. I thought that felt aligned. Yeah. I eventually realized that it wasn't, but the way that culture overtly teaches women to be, in order to be desirable, in order for men to like you, in order to get hired by that man or not hurt by that man, it runs so deep that I wasn't able to parse out what I was taught from what I felt. Yeah. I mean, I think that even from a young age, you pick up Cosmo magazine and the first headlines you see on the front cover are like 10 ways to blow his mind, 5 ways to make him fall in love with you. Yeah. 10 ways to blow him. I have a memory. I have a memory of being in university, and 2 of my friends and I were sitting around, and there was a quiz at the back of the Cosmo magazine. And one of the questions was, what do you think about during sex? And answer A was something like penetration, and B was something like a fantasy, and C was nothing. And they both chose A and B, and my answer was C, and I just lied.
You're like, oh yeah, A.
And again, right? Totally A. I love A. It's great.
Doesn't everybody think that?
Yeah. How does A work for you? No, I'm just kidding. But I have that memory, and I didn't know that it was an important moment while it was happening, but in hindsight, I'm like, well, I have the memory. Of course it was important. Yeah. And when I went back through a lot of my memories, I found queer-coded moments, right? I found aha moments that now make a lot of sense. But at the time, I just, breezed right past really fast. Yeah. I wasn't slow. I didn't know myself that well. I wasn't taught how to feel or process feelings like a lot of people. Therapy wasn't a thing. Mental health wasn't a thing. Right. So it took a while. It took a while for me to get there.
Yeah. And then how long were you guys married?
5 years to the day.
5 years? Yeah. Literally till today?
To the day. 5 years to the day. Oh. To today, yeah.
I was like, today?
Yeah. Where's my champagne?
Yikes. Like,
you can have your $20 matcha. I'd like a little...
Literally a little bit extra.
Toast.
Take the edge off.
No, we have a great relationship, and we adore each other. We're chosen family for sure. And so we mediated our divorce. We didn't do it through our own lawyers. And so when the time came to put the date on the divorce, our mediator, who was lovely, said, it's around that time. You want to do it on the exact day you got married? And we both kind of giggled and said, yeah, sure. Aww. Yeah.
And how was that conversation? Or like, was there a
Woo,
conversation?
which one? There were so many.
Oh my God.
There were so many.
Well, had you come out while you were in the process of divorce, or like, was that a part of it?
Yeah. So my therapist said something to me when I first started questioning myself, and I didn't say anything overt to him yet because my therapist, it's a man, I know, I'm sorry, he's great.
How could you?
I know. It's a betrayal for a lot of people, myself included in some situations. But he must have picked up on something because he gave me a line of advice I'll never forget. And he said something to the effect of, it's important to be out to yourself first.
Was he talking about sexuality, or was he just
No, we weren't. But again, it really resonated with me. I don't know if he was doing an Inception thing.
Yeah.
But so over the next couple of months, maybe up to a year, I was like, okay, we got to figure this out. I cannot go the rest of my life without figuring this out. I cannot be on my deathbed one day with this level of a regret. It's too sad to stomach, and I can't do that to myself or my spouse.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of quietly to myself sorting things out. I was like on lesbian TikTok, reading the Lesbian Master Doc, watching the L Word, going out in queer spaces with queer friends more. And eventually I did get to a place where it was undeniable that I had gotten my sexuality wrong and I was attracted to women. And then another place where I realized I was exclusively not attracted to men. And so that was a big reckoning for me personally and privately.
Yeah.
And then I told my husband. I told him first before anyone else. Yeah, it was really sad. I came home, I sat on the couch, and I said, I gotta talk. My heart is like pounding right now. I gotta talk to you. I think I'm gay.
And he said,
I mean, it was just, we cried a lot. Yeah.
yeah, I want to cry right now. Just because the heaviness of like holding that and realize, like, just even coming to terms with it in the first place, and now you have to explain it to somebody that you don't even have it fully formed for yourself yet, and you have to explain it to somebody else that
that line was tough for me. That line was tough for me because I wanted to get it to a point where I knew for surely enough that the information that I was coming to the table with which was going to like destabilize someone's life entirely, was sure. And so that meant, though, that I had to spend probably a little more time than I would have liked figuring myself out before I told my ex-husband, right? Like, ideally, I would have told him sooner and had him part of the process and just been a little more open.
Yeah.
But I thought it was more respectful to know what I was saying.
Right. Right. I think that, I can only speak on the exact situation that happened with my friend. She was able to talk to her then husband and tell him that she was bisexual. And I think that he still had hope in that 'cause she was still figuring it out.
Right. And so every person's situation is different. Right. But I just felt that I knew there was like another thing I just knew it wasn't fully figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, obviously, you guys get divorced, and then you're on the path of really coming to terms with everything yourself.
Yeah.
Was he a part of that? Like, was he...
So I don't want to breeze past the divorce part because that was the hardest part for me. That was at that point harder than any of my own personal reckonings or coming out either, to my close friends and family or publicly. Losing my like best person in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me. It was hard. And he was amazing. We did it really well and healthily, but the reaction to divorce and what people think of divorce, I found to be complete and utter bullshit. So
Talk
many
about
people
it.
are divorced.
Yeah.
Right? It's,
Yeah.
by the numbers, a normal thing in our culture.
Right.
Yet the stigma we still have on it, culturally, interpersonally, from woman to woman,
Yep.
is completely, in my opinion, misplaced.
Yeah.
I do not understand why we hold the sanctity of marriage, which is I might be harsh here, but an archaic institution made to sell women, really, in its like, formative process, as like the standard for 2024 when it fails half of the time.
Right. Yeah, it's not for everyone. No. I thought that we understood that, but there are so many people. It's like when you meet someone and they're like, well, I want the marriage that my grandparents had. They were married for 500 years. You can,
for sure, though.
But also, you don't know what the fuck was going on between your grandparents.
100%.
You know your granddaddy was a cheater, and you know your grandma was miserable. So, like, what are we really talking about? Cammie's out here cursing
somebody's granddaddy.
I'm just saying... Like, let's be so for real. Like,
I'm saying that I don't believe in staying in a situation that isn't serving you.
Exactly.
First and foremost, you, period, full stop.
Yeah.
But you or your partner or your family.
Right.
Just because you're supposed to. I don't believe in doing anything just because you're supposed to.
Yeah.
And that, transfers into work for you and I too. Like, I don't believe in treating plus size women via fashion and entertainment and culture the way we are quote unquote supposed to based on history. I don't believe that plus size women shouldn't have better clothes and options just because that's the way fashion is already doing it.
Right.
I don't believe you should stay married because you said yes once X amount of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's funny because I think we have the idea in our minds that like people change and people can change. I'm a huge advocate for the power of the pivot and changing your mind and like why when it comes to marriage, everyone, when you talk to people, they're like, well, I just don't believe in it.
My marriage was not a failure because it did not last forever.
Exactly.
That is not true.
Yeah.
My marriage was a great success in that we raised each other. We had a wonderful relationship. And then we went on to grow separately for the new things that we needed in this life.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great success in my mind.
And it sounds like, I mean, I'm sure that there were low moments and moments of tension, but it sounds like you had a really loving person in your life that cared about you enough to not try to pressure you into staying or gaslight you into thinking that like you were crazy for feeling this way, or I feel like there are a lot of people who go through the same thing and maybe don't actually end up getting the divorce because they're like, well, maybe this person's right, like I care about this person a lot, they care about me, maybe I am losing it, like maybe I don't know myself as much as they know me. So I mean, I think that I love the fact that you guys still have a relationship.
Yeah, I was really lucky in that regard. And same with my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, how was that?
I was scared. I had like fully come to terms with like, okay, like this might change the dynamic permanently forever. And it didn't. And I'm so happy for that. And I was specifically worried about my dad because he's Chinese and he's first generation. And from what I knew about Chinese culture and queerness, I assumed it was kind of a no-fly zone. And it broke my heart a little bit that his heart was broken, that he thought that I would think that it would change anything between us. And I have the best father in the world. He's the best. He drove you 9 hours to New York. I love him. Last year during the snowstorm at Christmas, he almost came and picked me up. He's the best. And the most supportive and said the most wonderful things. But I think that just speaks to the point that there's so much oh gosh, I'm like trying not to cry and da. No, I can't cry about my dad too. There's so much anti like queer messaging culture that it just got the best of me in terms of what I thought was implanted in other people's brains.
Yeah. Well, because there are those people, but I think that now, especially, there are overwhelmingly more of not those people.
I hope so. And that's why, representation matters. And that's why all of the things that we do, it's the same messages with fashion and body diversity matters, because it really does seep into people's minds in a way that forms their opinions and thereby the world.
Yeah. I just love you. You're just like incredible. I don't know.
I love you. I love you so much. I cried almost twice here.
I know. Wait, you're not a Pisces?
No, I'm a Leo with an Aquarius rising and a Cancer sun.
Oh yeah.
I don't fully know what that means.
Wait, you're a Leo sun.
Sorry, yes. A Leo sun, an Aquarius rising, and a
Cancer moon. Oh yeah, girl. Yeah. But yeah, of course you're gonna cry. It's a water sign thing. I'm a Scorpio. I cry. I almost cried this morning. I'm crying all the time. I want to talk about you finding love.
Yeah.
Because you have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I think you guys are so cute. And I finally met her over Fashion Week. And I just love how open you are with your relationship. And I, as somebody who only shows half of my man's face, I just love how open you've been, and you've shared so much. Like, what made you want to share? What made you want to post?
Well, I think that I am trying to be more of myself online, because it was killing me to be, the fashion editor version of perfection on the internet. It just really started to take over my mental health too much. And so that's one reason. The other reason is that it's a fun household. Like, she's so fun. I love her. I'm like so in love and so happy, and I've tapped so hard into my joy that it's like hard to keep under wraps in a lot of ways. And then the third reason is that after doing Sports Illustrated and coming out so publicly, representation matters.
Yeah.
And queer joy matters.
Yes.
And we're in a time where, we have the most ever anti-LGBTQ bills being brought forth at the state level in this country. And so if I have some small part in normalizing and spreading queer joy, and in changing somebody's mind, then that's success for me.
Yeah.
In terms of social presence.
Oh, you have more than a part, because I love the fact that you just slid by the fact that you made history for a size swimsuit. This is the first openly queer plus size model in Sports Illustrated Swimsuit. Round of applause. Round of applause, everyone. I say openly because you just never know.
And that was a language that we did use throughout that press, because that is such a truth, right? Like, there might have been queer folks in the issues past that we don't necessarily know about.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of you. You're just great. I don't know. I don't know what to say. But I truly am. I just feel like you've come such a long way, and I've seen you through a lot of different phases of life, and this is you just glow. You just have this.
Thanks.
You always have, but I think it's different when you're fully living in your truth and know who the fuck you are and aren't afraid to share it with the world. So
yeah. I feel like myself.
Yeah.
I feel like in my body.
Yes.
I was like a floating head before, and now I'm like a full being.
Yeah. The limbs. The limbs
are
are there.
They're important.
They're important. The limbs are fully formed, and they're all there. Okay. Well, we have some people who listen to the podcast who are struggling with their sexuality and need some advice. So are you down?
Yeah. Yes. If there are specific questions, especially, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Here's the first one. Someone said, "Ooh, thank God you're doing an episode about this. I've only ever dated men, and I just recently started dating women and non-binary folks. My sexuality is something that I've thought about for a long time. I never thought that people are 100% straight, but I never had the courage to dive further into this curiosity. Now when I go on dates with people, I'm not sure if I'm not feeling it because I'm not into people who aren't men, or if it's because I'm just not getting with that specific person. Sorry, gelling. I'm not gelling with that specific person. I'm also nervous for what's going to happen if I was to hook up with someone. What if I don't like it? Thanks for your help. My life is so much better now that Relationshit is back." Oh, thanks, boo.
Oh, that person is an angel.
No.
I love them.
The besties are my fucking world. I don't even know.
Oh my gosh. Well, my first reaction to their current situation is to slow down and give yourself so much grace.
Yeah.
I think that if you're not sure if you're not gelling with someone because of who they are or, a category they may fit into, then the only way to find that out is to slow down and be with yourself and think about it.
Yeah.
Whether that's therapy or journaling or meditating. But there's no rush.
Yeah.
There's really no rush. And I think that if, you don't end up liking an experience, that's no big deal either. Mm-hmm. That's totally okay.
Yeah.
I will say there's one way to find out.
Oh. And that's to try it, obviously.
And that's to get in there.
Yeah. How did you feel? Do you remember how you felt like preparing for your first date with a woman?
Not how I felt.
I feel like I would be like, what do I wear? Like, do I wear what I normally would wear on a date? Or what do I... And you were also going on your first date in how many years also?
Yeah. I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
But I remember like feeling myself, like I hadn't like put on an outfit and like ever been on a date where I felt aligned and really like wasn't going to be doing this performance or going to a bar with friends where I'm actually actively trying to like get people, away from me with a joke or a stature or what have you.
Yeah.
And I just remember feeling like arrived. Like,
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, next question.
I have another question, but I don't know if we can go there. I just want to know, when you had your first like experience with a woman, you know what kind of experience I'm talking about. Did you feel right? Like, or did it feel natural to you? Were there like things that you had to like learn?
Of course, there were things I had to learn. It didn't feel unnatural. It was still a little bit performative because I was coming off of years of my whole life of
Right.
like, being in that headspace.
Yeah. Tossing the hair and, oh yes,
The
it's
noises.
so great.
What are with the noises that
It's
we
too
all
much.
do?
It's too much. Just a lot.
Come
I do it
on.
myself.
Come on.
We all do.
I digress. My first reaction, and I like joke with my girlfriend now about it, was, that's pussy. Why aren't more people talking about this?
We need more people discussing this. Really?
Melanie, don't
I
joke.
love that. No, I love that. I love that.
But that was my genuine reaction. I was like jaw dropped, like,
Yeah.
why aren't there more monuments and
Yes.
movies and songs
Yes.
and paintings? And then you kind of start to look through the world through queer coded glasses and you're like, there are.
Uh-huh.
They are there.
Yeah.
And you start to
Yeah.
really feel aligned and like be in the world that way.
I love that. Oh, that's so exciting. I remember
I only would have said that for
No,
you,
I
in a room
appreciate
with
it.
you.
Thank you. Because I'm like, can I ask this? Because when I talked to my other friend, shout out to you, girl. You know who you are. When she had her first experience, I was so excited for her. I was like, call me. Give me all the tea. Like, I want to hear. 'Cause she was so happy.
Yeah.
And then she started describing every detail to me. And I was like, oh. And I was like, yeah, I'm straight. I'm definitely straight. But
see-
it's so exciting.
See, that's a reaction that I never had, right?
Yeah.
And so it's so fascinating to me that your mind is oriented that way.
Yeah. No, she was like, her tits, like they were just, when I was like, I was like,
See, so I would be
that's so
sitting
nice.
around with girlfriends and they would be talking about a dick pic
Yeah,
or like
right.
a one night stand with some guy, and I would just be like have no physical reaction.
Yeah.
And like obviously have a mental reaction because like I'm chatting with my friend and like it's fun and ha 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 and then
Yes.
she said this and you da 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 da.
Yeah.
But like never did I have like a tingle.
Yeah. I didn't have a tinkle when she was telling me what she was telling me, but I was happy for her. I was like, I'm glad you're tingled, girl. That's fucking amazing.
It's actually the official lesbian term is tingled. Yeah.
Is it?
No.
Oh. It's like, let me write that down. So I can text her tonight and be like, have you been tingled this week, girl? Lord have mercy. Okay, here's the next one. I've been in a same-sex relationship for 3 years. This has been my first time being attracted to and with a woman, and I still don't have a label for my sexuality. I don't feel I need a label, but I'm also wondering if I'm scared to have one. Thoughts?
This is such a good question because I kind of have, first of all, I'm new to this conversation, but labeling feels a little outdated in terms of where we are as a queer community and a culture in general. And so when I say I'm a lesbian, I feel like a lesbian, but that doesn't mean that I'm not attracted to different kinds of folk. I feel like a lot of people are kind of in the same position where pan is a good word.
Yeah.
Because, even folks who identify as bi feel in that essence, but like label wise,
Right.
it is a binary label. And so I would take the pressure off of it in that it's just a word. It doesn't matter. This person sounds like they're in a great relationship. And I mean, that's the important part.
Right. I agree. I do know that, I mean, people in the queer community and in the hetero community want for you to pick a side. Like, some people want for you to have a label and want to be able to label you. And it's just like, I
think
just
people
never understand why
understand
anybody
things better
cares.
when they're in boxes. It's the same thing with our size labels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I will say that something I've been thinking about lately is that being a lesbian or being gay or being queer doesn't feel like it's about sex or sexual orientation. It feels like an identity for me of how I'm in community with people who have similar experiences and see the world in the same way that I do.
Yeah.
You know, we've been through a lot of the same hardships personally and interpersonally and with the world that doesn't really want us to exist the way that we truly are. And that sense of alignment within myself and in such deep community feels to me what it feels like to be queer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
not
that's
about
why
the label.
It's not about the label. And that's why I think queer has really come to the forefront as an all-encompassing label.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. It's so funny because, like, when I think about the people who are trying to pass these laws, these are not people that I interact with. So, like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, everybody's cool. Like, nobody cares. But there are people who actively care and are trying to dismantle
Very much so
much work that has been done. And I even look within my own community, within the Black community, like, there is a lot of work that also needs to be done as far as acceptance and understanding and education, just normalizing queer people. But when I think about those people, I'm just like, half of y'all are actually a part of this community. And because you can't be proudly a part of this community, you try to destroy it. And that is insane to me.
It's once you start pulling that thread, it all unravels.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I really try not to process interactions, comments, instances, people like this on an individual level. It's really systemic. And these individual folks are the symptoms of the systemic issues.
Yeah. Right.
Because once you pull that thread, you can really lose your mind. Like,
fuck
thinking
'em.
about, yeah.
That's my advice.
Yeah, I said pussy, you can say fuck.
Yeah. I said pussy, fuck, shit, bitch on this podcast. Period. Lauren.
Yeah, what a good note to end on.
I love you. Thank you so much for coming
I love you
on.
too.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for having
sharing.
me.
Thank you for revealing and being vulnerable, because that's why I love you. Can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yes, on Instagram, I'm LC Chan because Lauren Chan. Everything is taken.
Stop. Who is
Yes.
she?
At my university, my email address was lchan242. Yeah. It's a very common name.
Damn.
I know. I know. So it's LC Chan.
No.
That's why. LCCHAN on all platforms.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.